we'll get started. This is the compact or semi-compact survival kit or car kit or even a big pocket kit. We'll take a look at it. First, it's in a Best Glide waterproof container. This container is anodized and coated on the outside. On the interior, it is not coated. What that means is that you can use the bottom portion of the container, this portion, to boil water in. Even if these rubber sound deadeners burn in the boiling process, the container will still close and still be watertight. It just may rattle a tiny bit. Okay, on the interior of the lid is a piece of reflective DOT tape, same thing on large 18-wheelers. The idea behind this is that if you want to be found at night and somebody is looking for you with a flashlight or car headlamps, you can hold this up and it reflects quite brightly. Also, you can use it to passively find your campsite if you need to when you walk away. You can place this in a horizontal position up against a tree or a bush or a rock, and when you're walking back to your camp by shining your own flashlight, you'll be able to identify it a little easier, particularly in terrain that's unfamiliar to you. Inside of the top lid is the rubber gasket, so as long as this part isn't heated, there's nothing to burn off. Once this is cool after boiling water, you can utilize it to seal it back up and it'll maintain waterproofness. In the top is a first aid kit, figuring might be one of the first things that you would need to utilize. So let's take a quick look at it. Most of the items are in a baggie just to provide some organization as well as waterproofness if you should have to put some of the items in your pocket. Dump that out and go through the items here. So inside we have a couple of antiseptic towels that you can use for cleaning wounds and or washing your hands. Additionally, we have for wound care, we have a couple packs of triple antibiotic ointment. We have some knuckle bandages, or fingertip, knuckle tip bandages, since you're most likely to injure your hands dealing with stuff in an austere environment. There's a larger bandage, and then 5 Band-Aids to utilize. In the medication area, we have 2 tablets of 25 milligrams each of diphenhydramine or Benadryl for allergies or runny noses. We have 4 tablets, 200 milligrams each of ibuprofen for aches and pains or to pre-treat if you know you're going to have to walk out. Some Metalite electrolyte tablets. You can use these 2 ways. You can swallow them as is, or you can dissolve them in your water. The advantage of that, if you've had to chemically treat the water, it will take some of that taste away. Remember, you're going to be walking further and perhaps with more weight, carrying additional items than you would in your normal life. And not only hydration, but electrolyte replacement will be important, particularly here in Texas. Lastly, there's a pack of hand sanitizer. It's alcohol-based, allows you to clean your hands. I probably wouldn't want to clean a wound with this. It'd be very painful. The other antiseptic towelettes would be better, but this can also be used as fuel to help you start a fire. All right, we'll move that to the side. Additionally, in the medication area, we have Vibrant or caffeine tablets. There is a total of 8 of these. Each one of those is equivalent to 1 cup of coffee. So if you need to stay alert, stay awake, you can do that. Obviously, there's a point of diminishing returns. If you've taken 8 of these in a row, you're going to be so jittery you may not be able to make good decisions or even be all that observant. So judicious use of that to get you through the day. Also, you have 4 tablets of Imodium. So these are kind of controversial, but for short-term use, they work good. 2 tablets at the first loose stool, 1 tablet with every other loose stool, no more than 4 of these in one day. This is basically to stop you from having diarrhea to get you home. The disadvantage of this is with some infectious bacteria based diarrhea, you are only containing the bacteria and slightly worsening the condition short term and majorly worsening it if you were to take these for days or weeks. So be careful with using those. This is a temporary measure simply to get you home, especially you don't want to be running away from folks and running your pants. This is a pocket saw. While all the items in here are of high quality, some even the highest quality, this one is not. I don't really have I've never been able to find a great portable saw. This one works pretty well. The idea is that you would open this up and then use the rings for your fingers, 1 or 2 fingers, and it now becomes a saw. So that's your handles, that's your saw, a little bit of kind of a close-up, although hard to get it to focus since it's so tiny. The idea is that to use this effectively, you would like to use it with slow, even pressure. The fail points are right here at the crimps and the little ring. They tend to snap right here, and then you're left trying to hold this sharpened area, which doesn't work too well. The one advantage to this piece of equipment is you can take one of the split rings off, as I'm doing here, and pass this through the large, now remaining split ring, and you've made a very quick, very easy, and very effective snare. One of the advantages of this is because it is quite sharp for this little saw blade, as the animal struggles, it feels the pain of the essentially micro barbed wire, will struggle more and try to get away faster, resulting in its death much more quickly than just plain wire. Come to the batteries in a second. We have 3 ways to start fire in this kit. First and foremost is the Bic lighter. This Bic lighter has been modified in 2 ways. First, there's a zip tie around it to keep the plunger from being depressed and the gas leaking. Second, the decorative band around it has been removed. We do that, I'm grabbing a different flashlight, because you can hold your flashlight up. Oh, a little too bright there. Let me dull it down here. Excuse me. All right, a little duller. So now you can see the liquid level and check that if the lighter is not working, to know if maybe it's empty or just something else is not working correctly. Even with this totally empty, the fire or the flint can be used as a sparker. You also have a ferrocerium rod. This is both, it's brand new. What you will need to do to use this is scrape the black coating off. That will not spark, and you will use your knife to do that. Once you see kind of a silvery surface, you can then use it as a sparker. Probably the best thing to do is to watch a YouTube video on how to actually use that if you have not used it. The advantage is that this works even when it's wet, and you get about 300 to 400 uses out of this, so it's much better than matches as far as longevity. Inside, you also have 4 Tinder quick tabs. These are essentially cotton balls with no treatment on them, with some fine monofilament wire wrapped around them to make them very compressed. To use them, you actually want to peel them apart so that they resemble a cotton ball once again, and that way they will hold and catch a spark much better. Don't forget to gather up all your other wood tinder and even thicker bits of wood. So, number 1 way to start a fire. Number 2 way to start a fire. We'll find the other one here in a minute. Roll of duct tape. This is approximately 9 feet of duct tape. It is waterproof and can be used to close wounds as well as repair equipment or clothing. Additionally, you can pull off a strip of it, roll it tightly, although you don't have to roll it tightly, it just makes it easier to use. And it is flammable. It does drip, so you don't want to hold it over your body or clothing, but it can be used as fire starter. It's in a bag simply to keep it from sticking to other items. Okay, inside here we have some cordage, some fishing line, and some other items. So let's look at that. The green line is 100-pound test Kevlar line. This can be used for a lot of things, even shoelaces. It's so strong though, and so thin that it can start cutting through things as you put tension on them. You can use it to sew clothing or a bag back together. I include a sewing needle with an eye large enough to pass the Kevlar line through. Additionally, you can use this along with the Mylar Blanket to make a makeshift lean-to or shelter. This is approximately 30 feet of 12-pound monofilament line. Again, you can use it for other things, but primarily for fishing or making a snare. You can also devise some tripwires to alert you to someone's approach. There's several safety pins in here, 3 small, 1 large, again to temporarily repair items. We have several sets of hooks. You have a medium size, we don't have a large size, but a medium and 2 small hooks. In addition, you have 2 pinch lead weights. These pinch onto the line. If you want less weight, if you notice the split here, if you cut with a knife, you can cut these in half and they still retain the pinching effect for the line if you want a lighter weight on them. So a lot of people ask, why a fishing kit? When I don't put a fishing kit in, people ask, where's the fishing kit? When I put a fishing kit in, people ask why there is a fishing kit in there. So 2 or 4 hooks and 2 weights along with the fishing line. When I weigh them up, add less than 2 ounces of weight to the kit and might as well put it in. Will you fish? I don't know. With this type of fishing arrangement, you would have to be present to make it work. It will not make a good trot line or a line that you can set. You could do it, but you would need some particular skill set with that. Okay, moving on. We have a Mylar blanket, just a standard Mylar blanket. It's 52 by 84 inches, enough to cover up with, enough to make a windproof barrier, a shelter, a few other things. Some disadvantages to this: it has no insulatory properties, so it only reflects heat. A lot of people think it's the end-all be-all. It's negative 50, I wrap this around me, I'm good to go. That's not necessarily true. In fact, it's not true at all. Second, they can tear quite easily. So once they begin to tear, do not throw them away, because you can place them inside a jacket or pants if you need more reflective heat. But used correctly, they're pretty invaluable. All right, you have 4 zip ties, just standard zip ties, that allows you to repair items or secure items. We have our water filter, which is our primary way of filtering. It includes the filter itself and then a small straw. Some of you will find a all smooth straw. Some will find this corrugated straw. I'm not sure why Frontier or Aquamirror changed, and I believe what happened is they had the smooth, went to corrugated, and then returned to the smooth. Either way, it works. To use it, you simply place the straw end firmly here, and now you have a drinking straw and filter. How do you remember what's what? This is the clean end, this is the dirty end, so this goes in the dirty water. This filter is good for an advertised 30 gallons, but eventually what happens is it just stops flowing water. So as long as it flows water, even if you were at 35, 40 gallons, it would still be safe. So why does it clog? Most of the time it clogs is because people put all the way to the bottom of a container or a puddle, and they draw up a lot of sediment into it. You can try sucking water until this is wet and then blowing, putting pressure back through to backwash it. Simply pushing air won't work, because what typically happens is all you do is compress the air in the straw or blow the straw apart without ever blowing it. So if you're going to try to backwash it, make sure you have water in the straw. And when you're done drinking, there's the disadvantage of this device is, one, if it freezes, this is no longer good. It has kind of a micro membrane. And 2, if this has been contaminated and this is clean and this is clean, how do you put this back into a container? What you might want to do is put this vertically in your pocket, which allows any dirty water to drain out the bottom and keeps the top part relatively clear. So we'll come back to a second way to use this here in a moment. Our second way to purify water includes these Whirlpacks. These are packs used by biologists and environmentalists to test water quality. So these are 2 1-liter bags. They have a gusset at the bottom, which allows them to stand up when they're full. And they have a wire tie at the top. Now these are sealed. You'll notice, if you can see, a little tiny perforated line. You must tear this off. They do that so when you're doing water samples, these are guaranteed to be sterile inside. Once you fill the bag, you simply turn down the top several times and move these over, and you can stand them up and they're relatively secure. So how would we use this? If you came upon a water supply, you can dip this into the water, and if you're careful, you can kind of leave the open top near the surface where you won't get any or much sediment in it. Seal it up and walk away. Why would we want to do that instead of just dipping in our straw and drinking from it? Remember, watch any Mutual of Omaha or wild animal show, and it's the lions that wait at the watering hole. So if you're in a desperate need for water, you don't want to sit here and be hunched over on your knees at the watering hole for 10 minutes while you drink your fill. Much better to get your water in as little time as possible and leave the watering hole. Once you've left, you can then use your Aquamira straw to drink out of this bag, or you can use some of the aqua tabs that are included. The directions are on the back. There's a total of 10 tablets. Each tablet will treat 3/4 of a liter. This is a 1 liter bag. So what you want to do is fill it up 3/4 full, or dump out a little bit if you filled it all the way up. Put 1 tablet in and wait 30 minutes. That works regardless of the temperature of the water, as long as it's not frozen. What will affect it is debris or sediment. So if you have a lot of sediment in your water, you might want to let it sit undisturbed, leaning up against a tree or a rock until the sediment is the bottom, and then carefully decant it into the second bag. Or you can try to keep this bag as clean as possible, so that if you do come across a water supply that you know is good, like maybe a hose bib on the side of a building or something like that, you can put your clean water in here. So try to, I don't know, unless it was very hot, I probably would not fill both bags at the same time with the dirty water. So I could either decant and help use my tablets better, or keep one bag clean for that clean water. Talked about a third way to start fire. We had the matches, we had the fire stick, now we have a Fresnel lens. So the Fresnel lens can be used for a couple things. One, I get a splinter in my finger, I need to maybe perhaps read directions because I've lost my glasses, or I'm getting old and don't have my glasses, or I need to read a map or something like that. And then last thing is using it like the old-fashioned, I'm gonna burn some ants. So with the sun, you can develop a pinpoint beam hot enough to ignite items. You can ignite your Tinder quick paper or even wood itself. All right, then you have some bins, 30% DEET wipes. So you get 2 of these. This works pretty great, and if you're not showering, this lasts 1 to 2 days, unless you're sweating quite a bit. Nothing worse than getting bugs around your face when you're trying to get some rest. Have a piece of moleskin in here. You would simply cut this with your knife, and then it's adhesive on the back. So dry off the blister area. Hopefully you get this before you have a blister where you see a hot spot. This basically just acts like a little padding and gives the shoe or pack strap or whatever is rubbing on you a area to abrade versus your skin. If you have gotten a blister all the way, you may want to pop the blister first, dry the area, and then put this down. The reason being is that many times with the blister, you'll put this on, you'll walk, and then the blister will pop behind the adhesive, and then now this falls off, and you don't have that protection. But this should be enough to cover several areas of problems. Inside you'll find a Swiss Army knife. The vast majority of them include this model, which is called the Hiker. It has a can opener and a small screwdriver, regular screwdriver. It has a bottle opener, a bigger regular screwdriver, along with a wire stripper. If you need to strip the wire, it fits in there, and you just twist and pull out. It then has a large blade and a smaller blade, or a backup blade. This is the blade that we will use on the fire steel. If I try to use the back of the knife, like sometimes you can with fire steels, this edge is too rounded, and additionally it doesn't lock. So if you put a bunch of pressure, you can see you can end up closing that on your hand and causing an injury. So strike the fire steel with this. Will it damage this blade? Yes, but you have two. So I would sacrifice this blade in only a small area to make that work. You have a fairly strong and decent saw, the disadvantage being that it is not quite long, but this will cut through most wood. It will not cut through metal, but you can't even cut through like a fence slat to make it easier to breach a fence, or even cut through like a window pane, or poke it through the glass and cut the wood of the stile, I guess it's called, and make it easier to get into a window that maybe has 4 or 5 small panes and not one big pane. Lastly, or not lastly, but you have a screwdriver, and this screwdriver, it's difficult to see, but there's actually a small slot in here, and I can pass this piece of paper through it here, and you can see that that fits inside of that. This is kind of interesting. It's for those old school kind of cans that you had the little metal strip that you wrapped around if you had lost that key. Is there practical use for it? I don't know, but hey, you might find some old cans. And it also has an awl to drill a hole or to use as a rudimentary sewing needle. You have a toothpick, and then a pair of tweezers, which may be helpful to remove splinters or slivers or even ticks. As a backup knife, you have basically a razor blade. These are the same knives, interestingly. A lot of people look at these and think, oh, this isn't very useful. This is the exact knife or tool that was used by the 9/11 hijackers. This is the box cutter to kill flight attendants and pilots. So it can get the job done. Don't underestimate it. And this one would be the knife I would use if I needed to skin an animal or even remove something, like I had an avulsed piece of tissue that was bothering me and I need to get it off. Now we have 2 flashlights. Your primary flashlight is the Streamlight. This is approximately 30-35 lumens. It has one setting, which is on. There is a push button switch, which you can push to lock on, or you can use it as a momentary signaling device. It has a clip that can be used on a cap by pushing this backwards, or a clip that can hold this in your pocket. It is waterproof. It has a lithium battery in it and includes 3 other lithium batteries. So you're going to get somewhere around 12 hours of total runtime by using all of the batteries. The disadvantage to this system is that these are 20-year batteries. If you were to fly on an airplane, these lithium batteries cannot be in this kit, even in your checked bags. You'll need to switch to regular alkaline batteries, and then it's good to go. The only other item that cannot be in there for checked or carry-on bags is the Bic lighter. So if you remove those 2 items, you can fly with this kit in your checked bags. The knives cannot go into carry-on bags, so you would have to remove these 2 also if you wanted to put it in your carry-on, but that would give you a fairly good kit if you were traveling and had nothing else. We have a Streamlight squeeze light. It comes on, has a high, a medium, and a low setting, and then a flashing setting. Now, on high, it only lasts an hour, so this is definitely a backup flashlight, and you have no replacement battery. It is a lithium battery, so it has the 20-year shelf life. But the real advantage of this is the flashing setting. If you were needing to be located, this will stay on greater than 24 hours. So even if you thought you might pass out due to injury or dehydration or what have you, this can remain on even after you're unable to activate it. Lastly, we have a compass. This is not a wayfinding compass with a bearing. It does have a twist bezel, but I've practiced with this and the bezel just moves too easy. So even if I take a bearing, it tends to move around. So I would use it just for general wayfinding. Okay, that's it for the kit. A couple of things that people ask me why I didn't put them in there or what might be better. A lot of people are like, what about a better flashlight like this one? This is the 1L1AA flashlight by Streamlight. It's much brighter and has settings of strobe and low. Same clip design. It uses either a 123 lithium battery or one AA, so it's pretty flexible and good. You get about an hour, hour and a half on high. On the low setting, you get as much as 6 hours. So it is a good alternative, but it does take up considerably more space. And then the lithium batteries are larger as well to carry extras. But this is a good choice. These are not very expensive and a good item to carry. People also ask, why aren't there matches? Matches in here, there's 15 in this case. They are windproof, waterproof, excellent product. Again, it takes up much more room than the Bic lighter as far as the size. And once these are done, they're done. But if you're into matches, that's not necessarily a bad thing to put in there. People also ask, what about a external battery pack for a cell phone? This will certainly fit in the kit, but it is heavy and takes up quite a bit of room. I do carry backup power for my phone, but I carry that in the glove box of my car. Because the other disadvantage is these really only hold a charge 3 months, maybe 4 months. This kit right here is currently set up with the first expiration date of the medicine of 6/23. So all of this can stay sealed in there with not being checked until that date. Other things, what about a super small kit? I do make these. They're considerably smaller, you can see, compared. But it's not going to have nearly as many items. And all the items in here require some pretty special skill set to use, more training. So you can get smaller if you want. Lastly, people ask about, what about some kind of weapon? Believe it or not, I do make those. This one is lighter on a few items, but it has about 80%. But it also includes a Kel-Tec P32 pistol and a spare magazine. 6 rounds in here, 10 rounds in here. So it gets you 16 shots. So I don't have a fishing kit in here. I don't have a water filter in here. I only have the Whirlpack bags. But I do have the duct tape, the regular Swiss Army knife, the flashlight, so you can make a kit with a real weapon in it. Obviously, this would no longer be able to go on an airplane in its format, and it might even be illegal. Even just carrying it around if you didn't have a concealed permit. In your car, it'd be fine in Texas, but obviously if you have children or people not used to being around guns, this is not secure. So, you know, you can do a lot of stuff with these if you want and still maintain a small footprint. Okay, well, I guess that's about it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Thanks.